Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you going today? Today we're going to continue on our fractions journey. So today we're going to look at equivalent fractions and simplified fractions. So that's our title for today. Equivalent fractions and simplified fractions. So let's start by thinking about our pizzas we were talking about last lesson. So say you have a pizza. You decide to cut the pizza into 2 slices, so you cut it in half. You decide to take one of the slice, so you have half a pizza, or 1 out of the 2 slices. Suppose you took the same pizza and instead of cutting it into 2 slices, you decide to cut it into 4 equal slices. Well, how many slices do you have to take to be half of the slices? Well, if you take half a pizza, technically you have taken 2 out of the 4 slices in total. So 2 out of 4 slices is really the same amount of pizza as 1 out of 2 slices of pizza. Or even if you want to step it up, you want to cut your pizza into 6 slices, 6 equal slices. And then you want to take out half the pizza, so you actually take out 3 out of 6 slices of pizza to get half a pizza. And the same is true if you decide to chop your pizza up into 8 slices. So chop it into quarters, and then chop them in half again to get 8 slices of pizza. How many slices do you need to take out half a pizza? Well, it's 4 slices out of the 8 total slices. So technically 1/2 is the same as 2 quarters, because 2 out of 4 slices is the same as half a pizza, which is the same as 3 out of the 6 slices of pizza, which is the same as 4 out of 8 slices of pizza. So this is what we call equivalent fractions, because essentially these are fractions which are essentially the same. They mean the same amount of pizza which you have taken out, which is half a pizza. So the word here is equivalent fractions. So equivalent fractions, for example, is 1/2, and that's the same as 2 quarters, or 2 out of 4, which is the same as 3 out of 6, or the same as 4 out of 8, because they all represent half a pizza. Now the question is, how do I get from one fraction to another equivalent fraction? So let's consider the first 2 here, so 1/2 and 2 out of 4. What do I need to multiply by to get 1 to 2? So 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So if you multiply the top and bottom, the numerator and denominator, by the same number, you get an equivalent fraction. If you consider 3, 6, you multiply the top by 3, and you multiply by the same number, 3, you get 3 out of 6. And the same thing for your 4 out of 8. You multiply 1 by 4, and then you multiply 2 by 4, that same number. As long as you multiply the top and bottom by the same number, you will get an equivalent fraction. So it's always you can divide as well if you have a big number, big fraction, but we'll talk more about that later. So if you multiply top and bottom by the same number, you will get an equivalent fraction. Out of these 1, 2, 3, 4 equivalent fraction, we say that 1/2 is the simplified fraction. So the word here is simplified, and the reason why 1/2, even though they're all the same fraction, 1/2, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 6, 4 out of 8, even though they're all the same fraction, 1/2 is called the simplified fraction because there are no common factors between the top and bottom. If you consider 4 eighths, right, both 4 and 8 are divisible by 4. So they have a common factor, so you can simplify 4 out of 8 by dividing top and bottom by the highest common factor. Now, because 1 over 2, there's no common factor which you can divide by anymore, so 1 over 2 is the simplified fraction. So simplified fraction, that's when you have no common factors between the numerator and denominator. So, for example, let's say I gave you the fraction 9 over 18, and I asked you to simplify it, because it's clearly not a simplified fraction, because there are common factors between the top and the bottom number. Well, what number can you divide both into 9 and 8? You can go, well, both are divisible by 3. So you would divide top by 3, which gives you 3, and you would divide the bottom by 3, which gives you 6. And then you ask yourself, is 3 out of 6 a simplified fraction? Are there any common factors between the top and the bottom number? Can you divide any further? 3 is divisible by 3, and 6 is also divisible by 3. So really, 9 over 18 is the same as 1/2. So what that means is, if you cut one whole pizza into 18 slices and take 9 out of those slices, you get essentially half a pizza. Now, some of you are saying that, why would you divide by 3 first when I can clearly see the highest common factor between 9 and 18 is 9? That's totally okay. You can do that too. So if you can see immediately what the highest common factor between the two top and bottom numbers are, you can divide by the highest common factor. But my point is, at the end you still get a half. My point is, if sometimes you're not certain what the highest common factor is, that's okay. As long as you divide by a common factor, with just a few more steps of work, you will still eventually get to a simplified fraction. It just means one or two more lines of working to keep dividing to get your simplified fraction. So in summary for now, equivalent fractions, essentially they're the same fractions. You get equivalent fractions by multiplying top and bottom by the exact same number consistently. Your simplified fraction is the fraction where there are no common factors between the top and bottom number, and you can always simplify a fraction by dividing by common factors until you reach a fraction where you can't divide any more common factors.